In his preface to his translation of the Lankavatara Sutra, Red Pine says, "The teaching of the Lankavatara is similar to the approach used by later Zen masters who offered their disciples a cup of tea, then asked them to taste the tea. The cup of tea in this case is the Buddha's teaching that traces the universe of our awareness, be it mundane or metaphysical, back to our mind. This is the cup of tea into which this sutra is poured." The Buddha expresses this teaching by describing the world we think of as real as nothing but the perceptions of our own mind. That whatever we see or think or feel is our own mind. Having put this cup of tea into our hands, the Buddha then asks us to taste the tea. The phrase he uses to express this is personal or inner or self-realization, or the self-realization of Buddha knowledge. The importance of this, which is repeated over and over in these and similar words, was not lost on T.T. Suzuki, who noted, "The Lankavatara has come to see that the whole of the Buddhist life is not merely in seeing into the truth, but in living it, experiencing it." Buddhism is concerned with suffering, which is the inevitable result of desire. But the real issue is the self, which is the cause of the desire, which is the cause of the suffering. In the centuries following the Buddha's nirvana, instruction centered around a trio of concepts designed to focus attention in such a way that the non-existence of the self would become evident and the liberation from suffering would follow. These included the 5 skandhas: form, sensation, perception, memory, and consciousness; the 12 ayatanas, or 6 powers and 6 domains of sensation; and the 18 dhatus, which were the ayatanas with the addition of 6 forms of consciousness. These were 3 views of the same thing, our mind. They were simply different ways of dividing any given moment of awareness into a manageable matrix to demonstrate to anyone willing to wander around these matrices that they contain the universe of our awareness, its inside and its outside, and yet they contained no self. That was their function, to show practitioners that there was no self. While these 3 schemes dealt with the problem of a self, they didn't help explain how we became attached to a self in the first place, and how we go from attachment to detachment, and thus liberation. Hence, to these were added 3 more schemes, all of which play a much larger role in the Lankavatara than the previous trio. The 3 new schemes are those of the 5 dharmas, the 3 modes of reality, and the 8 forms of consciousness. The 5 dharmas divide our world into name, appearance, projection, correct knowledge, and suchness. The 3 modes of reality do the same with imagined reality, dependent reality, and perfected reality. And the 8 forms of consciousness include the 5 forms of sensory consciousness, conceptual consciousness, the will or self-consciousness, and an 8th form known as repository consciousness, where the seeds from our previous thoughts, words, and deeds are stored, and from which they sprout and grow. As with the earlier trio of concepts, these were designed to account for our awareness without introducing a self. But they had the advantage of also providing a look at how our worlds of self-delusion and self-liberation come about, how enlightenment works, how we go from projection of name and appearance to correct knowledge of suchness, how we go from an imagined reality to a perfected reality, how we transform our eightfold consciousness into Buddhahood. But then the Lanka sets all of these schemes aside in the interest of urging us to taste the tea for ourselves. The Buddha tells Mahamate to let all conceptions go. Let the 5 dharmas go. Let the 3 modes of reality go. Let the 8 forms of consciousness go. Let the Tathagata Garbha go. Let everything go. The Buddha's advice in the Lankavatara is for us to drink that cup of tea and not to concern ourselves with where that experience fits into some previously constructed matrix of mind. Cup of tea or not, no one said it was going to be easy. It wasn't easy when this sutra was written, and it hasn't gotten any easier. The modern world is so full of distractions. Why would anyone want to meditate when they can watch TV, play video games, or surf the web? Just sitting down with a cup of tea can be so hard.